Here in South Africa, lockdown restrictions have become a little more lenient, and we are now able to travel within the borders of our own country. And I think to some degree we have all taken the ability to travel and to go on adventures for granted. But now that lockdown restrictions are a lot more lenient, I've decided to get out more with my family and to enjoy the beauty and the splendor that is right here in our backyard in beautiful Cape Town, South Africa. So welcome to a great day out. My name is Pete Alberts and my mission is to show you how to have a great day out in South Africa. And in this episode, I'd like to take you to a special place somewhere in the Western Cape, and it's called Enjo Nature Farm. Let's go. We got ourselves ready for a 2-week getaway. We planned on spending 5 days at Enjo Nature Farm, and after that we'd spend 7 days at Elands Bay, where I'll try to catch some of the best waves the West Coast has to offer. Packing the Land Rover downright feels like a chore, and it just can't happen fast enough because we're so excited to get going. But we've become quite efficient in loading up all the gear, the bikes, surfboards and the dogs. And finally, we're off. The drive to Enjo Nature Farm from Cape Town is a little over 3 hours. Make that 4 hours if you drive a Land Rover Defender. We got off the N7 highway and drove past the small town of Clanwilliam, where the scenery begins to change as we ascend into the Pakhuis Pass. Dramatic rocky landscapes welcome us and lure us away from our daily grind with the promise of great adventures. We swung right, heading into the legendary Biedouw Valley. Not too long, and we found ourselves descending into the valley where we are greeted with beautiful views and blooming flowers. And finally, we arrive at our destination, Enjo Nature Farm. We did a quick check-in at the farmhouse and drove approximately another half a kilometer to our cottage. We unpacked, and the first thing I did was to test out my new Mavic Mini drone. I've never owned a drone before, so I thought I'd start out with a budget drone just to see how things go before I invest in a more advanced drone. With evening setting in, it was time to get a fire going. With the fire blazing and refreshments in hand, it feels like holiday has officially started. The next morning was serene. Birds chirping, fresh mountain air, and a feeling of freedom and peace that only God and nature can provide. We decided to have coffee and rusks before going for a short hike up to the spring that supplies the farm with all its water. Unfortunately, we didn't make it that far because we didn't want to over-exercise Dingo, our 5-month-old pit bull puppy. The springtime flowers are absolutely stunning, and the brisk walk was just the right thing to get us into the holiday mood. Plus, I had some time to practice flying the drone in a fairly safe environment. The following morning was windy and cold, and it seemed like it was going to rain. A perfect day for a great day in, I thought. Or rather, a cozy day in. Not even the dogs were interested in going outside. Like us, they preferred staying in bed. I get ants in my pants really fast and can't sit still for too long. I thought it might be a good idea to get the indoor fireplace going and warm up the cottage. With the fire going, we simply just hung out as a family. No TV, no radio, no internet. We read some stories to each other, we played games, and later we made a light lunch. After lunch and a lazy afternoon nap, we drove down to an area on the farm to take a closer look at the springtime flowers. Fortunately for us, the weather has calmed down significantly by then. We made a few friends who seemed quite interested in the Land Rover. Even though it was overcast, the flowers still looked amazing. Later that evening, there was more reading, more fire, then bedtime. The next morning, we had a visit from our friends from the day before. It was still windy, cold, and rain seemed imminent. We basically repeated what we did the day before, except this time my son and I went roaming on the farm to explore a little. On the last morning, I got up before daybreak to see if I can squeeze in a short bike ride. It was a challenging climb, but I managed to reach the spring that supplies the farm with water. I had a quick break and then did my favorite thing, going down the mountain on my bike. Later in the day, we decided to conquer one of the hills that were close to us. We wanted to make the most of the day since it was our last day at Enjo Nature Farm. And it turned out to be some good dad and dude time. Sadly, our 4 days at Enjo Nature Farm came to an end and we were off to our next adventure in Elands Bay.